we have Afsheen here today, who is from Repowering and is also the chair of the, we were talking about the sector organization, Community Energy England, where all the different community energy groups come together to help each other and get information stuff. So Afsheen also is the chair of the board and many other amazing things. But go ahead, Afsheen.
Great. Hello, everyone. And it's great that I can join you this way, far away. I'm sitting in London. I've been doing community energy for a long time. So started in 2011 when it wasn't something that was as kind of known and popular. And when we started, I was based in London, based particularly in an area called Brixton, which is in South London, and an area which it's a hub of a lot of cultural activities. But it was also, Brixton's also known, I don't know whether some of you are familiar and heard of Brixton, also known for its regeneration and gentrification. So there's a lot happening in the area, and there is also the area is also part of like some of the most deprived areas across London. So when we started our journey on community energy, it was, we didn't kind of set off like, oh, we're going to set up this project. We really were mindful of the context that we were working in, and we wanted to make sure that like new technologies like solar panels or being able to generate your own electricity benefited everybody, not just the few who were able to pay or invest. And community energy was really a good way of bringing together individuals, collective people working together and creating a project. And we also wanted to, in a way, when we started, we were like, we want to disrupt the energy system because everything is so large scale, and there's this disconnect from where your electricity is coming from. People just switch, to flick a switch and you get your electricity, and then you get your bill and you don't understand your bill, and then you just pay your bill, and then you wonder like, why is it so high? And there are lots of issues, and people live in homes that are leaking heat, so that's not good either. So there's multiple issues, and we wanted to look at energy as a whole. So that's where we started. But all of that was big ideas, and we're like, oh, but where do we start? And there are loads of problems we want to solve. There's huge ambition, and so we set our focus on starting with one project at a time. So let's focus on our project. And we went out and found out what are other people doing in this space and how people developing their projects. So we got a bit of support from others who not based in London, because we were the first to establish a project in London. So we sought out other organizations who had done community-owned solar power projects, for example, in Brighton, and there were other projects also being developed in other parts. And we were like, maybe let's just connect with them and see, what their journey's been like. And so that was helpful to us, because we were like, where do we start? And they were like, find a roof, find the building owner, do a feasibility study, see whether the roof can take the weight of the solar panels. So, there was this kind of basics, and you'll find some of these steps on the community energy website as well. And so we slowly started embarking on that journey. And, you have to figure your way out. And I think that's also fun, because, the journey of coming together as a group of individuals, we were, at least a group of like 10 or 12 of us, started small and then started growing, and everyone had their expertise, which was amazing. In our group, we had individuals who had maybe accountancy experience, someone who had community development experience, an IT person, an engineer. And so it's just like very different. And people, you don't all have to have major skills or something. Everyone has something to give, which is the beauty about it. And just you kind of hang out together. our first project was established in March 2012 in Brixton, and it took us a lot of effort, but it was really an empowering experience to be able to see the solar panels being installed on a social housing block, which was owned by Lambeth Council, and we got permission from the council to install the solar panels. We raised the finance for that solar panel array. It was cost us around £57,000, and we raised the finance for that project through a community share offer. And again, that was our first experience of running a community share offer, because community shares is unique to cooperatives and community benefit societies, and it's non-regulated. So it's very much about trust, building trust in the community is very much about, local people being aware of the project. What are the aims? And a lot of people invest in these schemes not because they're like, ooh, this is a great money-making deal. It's a combination of things, it's like, right, okay, this is something local. This is about, my local community. It's about providing benefits locally. So some of the things that we really highlighted in our share offer was like, if we had surplus income, what would we do with that income? We would spend it locally. This is about, making sure that local people are prioritized, and that connected with people. And when we started off, these business models were pretty sound. There was the government subsidy, which was the feed-in tariff. So it was a secure, fairly secure investment. And and we were able to offer we projected a 3% return on investment for those people who could invest. And I think that was also a bonus. But when we did the first share offer, I think a lot of the investors were like, oh, we're not going to get our money back, but we'll do this because, it's for the good of the environment, good for the community, and, local purpose. Little did they know, 10 years on, they've been receiving a 3% return on their investment every year. Not only that, we've kept aside ring fence like community funds, which we have used in the community. We've offered training courses for local residents, so they've been on renewable energy training course. We've offered over last year, particularly, we put £2,000 to £3,000 aside from the co-op to give out emergency fuel vouchers for residents who weren't able to top up their electricity. So, those were it's a small project, but, the impact in the local area is quite significant. And more, our journey from being volunteer group ourselves, delivering and establishing a project, we went on to deliver a couple of more projects after that. We refined the model. And today, Repowering helps other community groups to do that very same thing, that, deliver their own low energy projects, low carbon projects in their local area. And that, the learning that we've got, we want to share with others so that they don't have to keep reinventing the wheel again and again. But and now we're working on a range of projects. So while rooftop solar is like our foundation and our base, we know how to do that. We're scaling, working across different parts of London. There is also other opportunities. And when I started off, I was saying how we wanted to look at energy as a whole. And while you're interacting with people, the solar panels are a great hook, because they're tangible, you can see them. But being able to offer residents advice on energy efficiency to tackle fuel poverty, I think is also really, really key, particularly where homes are leaking, a lot of the heat, and people aren't able to, they are living in either council houses or private homes that they aren't able to invest in retrofits. I think that's where we've been helping a lot of residents as well, in terms of giving them advice in what they can do in their homes, access to grants and discounts, how to write off their energy debts, negotiate with their bill providers, so there's a range of things you can do. And then there's quite a lot around innovation, new opportunities. I believe you're looking at a range of projects, not just solar. You could look at EV charging, you can look at Heat. I think heat is going to be another big area of growth and interest. And even if your role is about, informing residents, there's this government grant scheme that you can get hold of. Your role can be really important in making sure that people are aware of what kind of projects or access to funds are out there. So you can be a range of things in the community, and I think it's really up to kind of you guys to decide which projects you want to pick and you feel comfortable with, depending on the context of your own local community. And another aspect that we've integrated within all of our projects has been education and training for young people, going to schools, running a morning assembly, for example. And when you go into a school and you run a morning assembly, then make that connection with the school. And the school could be a good place where, if they haven't got solar panels, maybe you can say, well, have you considered putting solar panels? And that could be one of the sites that you start off with. And so you're kind of working at two levels. You're engaging people in that local context, as well as you're kind of also pushing forward in terms of a potential project that you can develop. And the training side of things is really important. It's about including young generation and offering them a chance to understand what's happening in the environment, sustainability. Ultimately every job could be a green job, so it's a great stepping stone. And equally, I think my last point, because I don't want to carry on too long, and I want to be able to maybe have a chat with you guys. My last point is about it's a real great journey for you as an individual as well, and collectively. Like, the skills that you gain from delivering such projects is immense. I've learned about financial modeling and about the technology around policy, just the whole how to run a business. So just so much that you can learn and take from this. And I remember a few of our volunteers who joined us back in 2010. There are board members today, and some of them are also gone. Some of the volunteers have gone on and taken on more kind of strategic roles in different organizations. So it helps as a stepping stone, if you like, or it helps you gain some more work or experience within this industry. So yeah, there's just so much you can gain on an individual level, and of course gain lots of friends and in your local area, and just have a good time. Our first project, we came together in 2011. We're just coalescing as a group, just connecting and pulling out ideas. We delivered our first project in March 2012. So that was the first time we'd done something like that. And after that, the projects, maybe 6 to 8 months. But I think it's about being realistic, because these are not like quick, couple of months projects, because you have to do quite a lot of legal, technical, financial due diligence and checks. That's if you want to go for a community-owned solar power station, for example. Whereas there could be like smaller projects that you can kick off, and could be around giving energy advice and coming together and finding out what's available in terms of working with the council, what services or facilities are available for people. And you can, I know a lot of community energy groups are like setting up what do they call it, like coffee mornings or energy cafes, and giving out information, just raising awareness. And that could be something that could be very early on that you can do. Of course, you would need to get some level of training to be able to give that advice. So yeah, there's a range of things, but I would say plan for a year. That is, I think community work takes time. So it's about building relationships, trust, and links. But when you're starting off in a community where you've already got like an existing network and you've already got connections, like when we started in Brixton, for example, we already had like a transition town Brixton. We had a green community champions network. So there were already links there. So we were very quickly able to get loads of volunteers involved in the project. And I would say that not only just look at the energy or green networks, there are also other networks like, church groups, or there'll be other links in the community, and it's finding out where those networks are, where are people coming together, and going to those meetings and sharing your agenda and seeing whether others would be involved. So it takes a bit of time to kind of sink in the idea, like, we're thinking of doing a community energy project, which could be like solar panels on your school, or it takes a while for that to come through and for people to join you and your cause. On the other hand, when we started, so in Brixton, it was really quick for us to like build this like mass volunteer group behind us. Whereas in other parts, like for example, we were working in North Kensington, there was a lot of there's a lot of movement building in North Kensington, but it was more around social justice, and the Grenfell is based around there, and so there was a lot of community mobilizing around that, but not around the environment. So it took us a bit longer to build a network of individuals. But once you get there, once you get a few people, then it just kind of grows and mushrooms out. And today, 4 years on, North Kensington Community Energy, from being not even existing, we registered in 2018, and we are now, we've installed solar panels on 2 schools, a community building, a leisure facility, almost like 250 kilowatts generation capacity. We've got a volunteer group of 15 people who are like regular attendees, got over 200 members who have invested in the scheme. So we've raised quite a lot of money within the community. The first share offer was for £83,000, and the second one was for £103,000. So we've raised over £200,000 in that community. We've the volunteers organize lots of activities and connect with a lot of other groups, not just around energy, but having greener living days and activities and events. So you can see, like, from not even existing in 2018, we literally registered the co-op, and we're like 2021, and we've done all of that. So it's quite amazing. Like once you gain momentum, it just grows, and it's really great to see that happen. So I think I haven't tried out the business model for EV charging, and I think depending on how many you've got in your group, you might want to maybe have a few of you focused on the EV, and maybe a few of you focused on the PV charging to start off with, to maybe explore what is viable. Like, do we have sites for solar PV? That's an easy one. Do we have sites for EV charging points? Who do we need to talk to? So I think if you...
Sorry, e-bikes. I got it wrong. E-bikes or solar, yes.
Yeah, well, I think the same kind of applies. Is if you maybe split out into 2 groups and see which ones have more barriers, which one's more possible, where the business model is already established, where someone can give you advice and some templates so that you're not having to reinvent the wheel, then I think then you can come together and say, okay, like in 3-4 months' time, we've done our research, we've done our groundwork, which ones do we think will most likely go ahead? And then you go with the project where you think, you've got a potential site, where you've got potential, like someone who can help you, and you've got some ready-made templates so that you're not having to reinvent the wheel, because some of these models can be complex. And you don't want to get kind of bogged down in that and then feel like disheartened, like this is not going anywhere. So I think when you're starting off with the first one, and of course it also depends on what expertise you've got in your group. Like if you've got some people who are already, you know, engineers or a structural surveyor or something, that you know, they might want to have different energy and say, oh, let's go for this e-bikes or something like that. So I don't know, like I think I would go with test out a few options, put your bucket list together of your different projects, and then come back together and see, okay, what's viable. Yeah, I think get the legal team involved a bit later. Initially, you want to sound out, because the legal team will come in when you have some lease agreements to sign. For example, when we install solar panels on the roof, then you have to get a rooftop solar lease. You have to get a power purchase agreement, and some templates may be available, but I think it's first, before you commission like a legal team, it's about knowing whether this project is financially viable. Is the roof sound? Have you got the building owner on board? If the building owner is on board, then you know, that's when you progress. You've ticked certain boxes, and then you're like, okay, now we'll move into the legal stage. So I think that will come later. I think if you've got, I hope more, the upfront expertise will be more around the technical side of things, technical assessment. So if there are any grant funds that may be available that you can apply to, I think the focus would be around getting some local, you know, engineers who might be able to help you in doing the feasibility, or, you know, a company that already does e-bikes, or, you know, so they'll be able to say, is this suitable, is this not? And maybe, I think if you have a look on the Community Energy England website and see which organizations have already done different technologies and who may be able to help you. You know, that's the most challenging bit about it all. And it all depends on who you know in the community. So for example, if you're going to go for a school, then if you know a school governor, or if you know a teacher, the head teacher. So I think it's about finding people who are in a position of making a decision. I think that's really key. So if you're in the community already, you know someone who's a governor or the head teacher, then that's a really good route in. If you don't know them, then it's about building that relationship, you know, directly writing to them. Go to the top, because I think, you know, they're the decision makers, and if they're not on board, then you'll just kind of be hitting a wall at the end of the day. So definitely approach, you know, I think schools are a good one, or community buildings, like if you've got facilities where they're already got quite a lot of on-site usage, they're a good starting point. Or if you want to talk to your council, I don't know how on board they are, have they got certain sites that they would be willing to work with the energy group? So that's a good way. And to go to maybe your climate change person or the sustainability team, who might be able to give you some inroads there within the council. So there's a few approaches you can take, and it's all about who do you know and getting to the right person. Yeah, in terms of business models, for example, when we installed our first project in Brixton 10 years ago, then that you get paid. The feed-in tariff is a payment for generating the solar electricity. So whatever you do with the electricity, that's not relevant. If you're generating it, you will get paid. And I think at that time it was something like 13 pence or 14 pence per unit of electricity generated, which really made the model really sound, and you know, it was grandfathered, so it was guaranteed payment over the lifetime of the project. But at that time, likewise, you know, the cost of solar panels were really high, so that kind of balanced it out. But now we don't have a feed-in tariff, and over the last 10 years it had been reducing significantly. And you know, our last few projects were like, we were getting 4 pence or 3p compared to that kind of 14 or 13p. We had to shift our business model. So we then were looking at sites that had high demand for the electricity during the day, because the solar panels will be on the roof generating electricity. You want to be able to use that on site. And we were then, we've developed the model to sell that electricity to whoever's using it in the building. So if it's a school or if it's a leisure facility, for example, then we've been, to make it more enticing, you know, it's about offering it at a discount to say like, okay, you as a school are paying EDF Energy 14p for your electricity. If you buy it, you know, if we install the solar panels for you and you buy it from us, we'll sell it to you at 12p. And it's important to be able to sell your electricity. It's important for there to be enough demand on the site so that, you know, during the daytime when you're generating, at least, you know, 80% of that electricity is being used and you can sell it. And so that has become the business model now relies on being able to sell electricity at a price so that you can then make up for the loss of the feed-in tariff. Prices for solar panels have gone down significantly. The projects, I think, become more viable, like if you have multiple sites. So one site on its own, if it's only 10 kilowatts, is not going to be worth your effort to do a community share offer to raise, you know, £8,000 for a very small site. So I would pool together like a couple of, you know, 4 or 5 sites together or 3 sites together, you know, which have maybe look at a minimum 30 kilowatts capacity, like, you know, a good sized roof. Try to work towards the 100 kilowatt threshold. So then you'll get better pricing for your installation. So, you know, because if they look like you've got a portfolio, then the installers will offer you better competitive prices. Or you may want to buddy up with another community energy group when you do your procurement. So then, you know, you can benefit from the scale. So driving your price for your installation down is important. Being able to find sites which have high demand is really important. And I suppose I think those would be the two, and having a willing building owner or user, I think is important. Our model, you can get people who would install it for you and offer you an O&M contract, which is an ongoing maintenance contract. So you can have that where the installer might be able to build that into your package. At Repowering, because we've got like a portfolio of sites and got quite a few, we do our own maintenance as well. So Repowering in itself doesn't own any assets. All of our projects are owned by individual co-ops. So Brixton Energy owns its own asset. North Kensington has its own asset. And so Repowering offers a service to the co-ops that we establish, and we provide that service to them. And yeah, so most of our co-ops have like volunteer directors and volunteers, and then Repowering has paid staff. And we then offer them all kind of technical, professional expertise, accountancy, and things like that. You know, so that those are aspects of work that need to be paid. They can't be done on a volunteer basis. So you build that into your financial modeling. Definitely, there's work in community energy, and more and more, like more jobs are being created within these organizations. A lot of our team members, you know, in the past, when in our growing phases, we had plenty of volunteers, and quite a few of them have gone on to get jobs within Repowering, even if it was temporary paid positions or short-term contracts. It's a, you know, great way if you're volunteering within the organization. We're small, and you know, if we get some grant funds and we secure some money or some contracts, then you need more hands on board. So it's a great way to then, obviously, you'd go for the person who's already working within you, because you don't have to go through major, you know, procurement process or something like that. So we've had quite you know, in the early days, quite a few of our volunteers being able to join us as, you know, engagement officers, or like run some solar panel making workshops. And even today, like some of our young trainees, we've offered them certain paid opportunities, like, you know, on a one-off. So if they can help us on a solar panel making workshop, then we will pay them as well. So there are lots of those opportunities. And more recently, we've recruited like 2 of our champions who live locally. So there's a, you know, and we're paying London salaries, and in London, you know, that's a London living wage of £10.85. Wow. And we're actually paying them more than that, because we think, you know, living in London is hard. And so we've been able to secure funding and pay local champions to do the engagement work, raise awareness in the community, and we've got energy advisors as well. There's there's definitely opportunity, and I say, if you've got the ability to kind of volunteer, join an organization, it'll help you build those kind of links and that work experience for sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot.